Welcome to my studio. I'm Artemis. Happy Pride Month! I'm non-binary and I feel like celebrating by making a doll, so I'm going to take you along for the ride as I create my mini-me. Now, I started this custom about 4 months ago, so they're partially prepped, but don't worry, I saved all the good stuff for you to enjoy. As it is Pride Month, I want to create a more festive look, so here's what I'm thinking. I love K-pop fashion because of how gender fluid they can look in performance attire, so I'm taking heavy inspiration from that. I want to feel edgy but show off my pride. I'll make a set of shorts with a partial pleated skirt, and a sheer top is a must as I've had top surgery and I'm proud of my scars. For the base, I'm using Rainbow High's Pinkly Paige. I love her curvy silhouette and think the bust that she's got sculpted will lend itself nicely to that top surgery. So let's get started. All the prep work is done, and I've traded out her eyes for a greener pair to closer match my own, but we'll get more into the face later. Right now, the concern I have is the body. So, Pinkly, sorry, but you're officially on the chopping block. The body is made of hard plastic, so top surgery isn't going to be done with a scalpel, but instead a rotary tool. I have to remove enough material so that I can sculpt a flatter chest. Crazy watching this footage. I'm pretty sure that this poor doll is going through quite a bit more than I went through for top surgery, but it's gotta be done. Now that one side is done, I'll go ahead and repeat that on the other side off camera. Look at how this turned out. Well, they're pretty exposed. So let's go ahead and fill up that hollow cavity so that I can sculpt on it. I'm using aluminum foil, milliput, water, a sculpting tool, and of course gloves. I start by scrunching up small pieces of foil and use the back end of my sculpting tool to help squeeze it inside the chest cavity. It's crazy, honestly, how much foil went into this, as this poor doll is being stuffed. It just ate foil. I honestly don't know. Eventually, I end up turning to the hot glue gun as, again, the foil was just swallowed up. Once I've got the hot glue filled in, I can finally actually start with my milliput sculpting. Milliput is a 2-part epoxy clay, similar to epoxy sculpt, but at least where I'm at, it's quite significantly cheaper. It does advertise that you can use colorant to tint it so that you don't have to worry about painting over it, but honestly, I knew I was going to do a couple layers of sculpting and didn't want to worry about color matching. I wear gloves while mixing, but once it's thoroughly mixed, the product becomes so sticky that it just sticks to the gloves and I can't really sculpt. I don't recommend this practice as it's a chemical-based clay, and contact with it once or multiple times over your lifetime can lead to allergic reactions, so definitely be careful. Do as I say, maybe not as I do. Now with the sculpting, I'm trying to get a sort of pec look. It's a little fantasy about being a little bit more buff than I am currently, but I'm also working with the mold of the doll, and as I tried to be a little flatter, it just didn't quite look right, so a more pec shape worked better. Now, milliput leaves a lot of residue that if you leave on will cure, so I tried to wipe off as much as possible.
One eternity later.
Now you can see that the body is painted. I kid you not, it took me 6 tries to paint this doll. And of course, when I finally did get it right, my camera ate the footage, so I'm sorry I don't have any of that for you. What you can see is now I'm adding in my scars as well as a little bit of body blushing. I go in with a chalk pencil as well as some colored pencils and chalk pastels, just to kind of give the body a little bit more life. Now I've reattached the head to the body, added masking fluid, which is liquid latex, to the eyes, and scrap fabric over the hair. And of course, I want to protect that paint job on that body that took me so long to get right. So I'm just going to wrap in a little bit of cling film and some tape, and then we can finally get started on the face up. While I finish wrapping the body, let me take you through the starting process. If you're new to doll customizing, many of us use a sealant called Mr. Super Clear, or MSC for short. Usually I would spray the doll 2 to 3 times to start a face up, but recently I've noticed that pastel work can start actually before sealing for the first time, which saves both time and money. I'll actually be adding a counter down in the bottom left-hand corner so that you can see what layer I'm actually on. I left some of the factory paint still on the face as I liked the shape of the eyeliner that she started out with. And at the time, I thought the eyebrows were pretty perfect. And to start blushing, I apply some pink and peach to the cheeks, blending that with a makeup brush. I think what I'm using here is a flat brush, but I'm not super well versed in makeup, so I could totally be wrong. I then have a pencil brush that I use for highlighting the face at the high points. It just seems to work a bit smoother than other brushes I've tried. I do this with both a skin tone pastel and a pure white. I of course like to add a little bit of blushing to the ears. It's a subtle difference, but in my opinion, totally worth it. I'm not sure what this next brush that I'm using is called, but it sure seems to be similar to a pencil brush, but also being like smaller and a little bit flatter. I like to use that one to add shadows. I just add layers of highlight and shadow to give that sort of skin imperfection, as well as bring out features. I'm going a little heavy with the pink on the cheeks because I have rosacea, so that's just something that matches me. I add a layer of MSC here so that I can continue to build color on the face. I really want to push those highlights and shadows, as well as build a realistic blush to my cheeks. I actually think at one point I scared myself thinking that I'd added too much pink, but honestly after a layer of sealant, it dulled down enough that I was actually really happy with it. I did want to go for a more neutral makeup look, so I started off with a little bit of brown to indicate shadow on the lid, going over it with a little bit of blue and purple pigment, as eyelids are quite thin, so you can usually see the tint of your blood vessels in either blue or green, depending on your skin tone. For the lips, I use a micro applicator brush so that I can be as precise as possible. I use a mix of orange, red, and pink to try and keep the lips looking as natural as possible. I'll even go in with a peach and pink pencil to add lip lines to simulate lip wrinkles. To help keep the shape of the lips, I do a little bit of cleanup with a pencil eraser. I love that it's small enough that it can get into all those nooks and crannies of the face, especially around the lips. And for some reason, it's just a bit more precise than other erasers I've used. As rainbow high dolls are sculpted to have an open mouth expression, I'll go in and paint the whites of the teeth off camera as a finishing touch later down the line. I had originally thought that the eyebrows were perfect, but after doing the hair, it's just a simple coat of flocking as my hair is too short to make a wig work very well. The eyebrows now don't match. They're a bit too blonde, so I'm going to take another micro applicator brush and some browns to deepen the shading and also make them a little thicker. I again go in with my pencil eraser to clean up any details I don't want to keep. Now for the fun part. I have facial tattoos, so it's time to sketch those in. I start with a very light brown. Not entirely sure if you can see all of this on camera, so I'm sorry for that. But I wanted any erased mistakes to be entirely invisible. And I was not confident in my skills in recreating the beautiful artwork that my tattoo artist did. I did have to fudge a little bit of the detail and the placement in the tattoo, as the doll scale isn't 1-to-1. The eyebrows are a bit higher on the face, some of my tattoos go above the eyebrow, and overall the face is just rounder, so I just kind of had to get the best feel for it, and I think I did a pretty good job. I think it was actually harder to sketch the crescent moon, just like the actual tattoo. If it's a little off, it just looks wonky. Honestly, after I was happy with this sketch, I didn't want it going anywhere, so I sprayed a layer of MSC with just the tattoo sketches. Now that the base is done for the tattoos, I can finally go in and make them actually look like tattoos by going over my line work with black. The tattoo I have is a combination of vine and leaf work with the occasional lily of the valley flower. I didn't think I'd like something so delicate and feminine being a trans mask non-binary person, but I feel like it gives me a nice balance between both my masculine and feminine side. I actually have a few tattoos that I've left out of this doll, because when I started getting tattooed, I thought I was only going to get a couple, and if I were to do it all over again, I would put some of them in different places. That being said, I'm actually planning the process of laser removing some of the ones that I haven't added to this mini-me, so that I can put things in better places, as I plan on being a heavily tattooed person now, if you couldn't tell by the fact that I have my face tattooed. I like that my mini-me, in a way, is sort of incomplete this way, so that as I get tattoos or piercings, I can actually update the doll to match how I've changed and grown. On the same layer, I do add some extra detail to the lips and a little bit of shading still, just to kind of really give that layer a good layer of work, not just the darkening of the tattoo lines. Now, I did change my mind about the intensity of the makeup look as I realized that this is fantasy doll me, and I wouldn't have to redo makeup every single day. So I wanted to add a little graphic liner, going in first with brown to sketch it out, and then I do actually erase most of it in favor of a green to bring out my favorite color, and end up darkening the blues and purples on the lid to end up with a more smoky eye. Now, I did mention before that I ended up with a sort of shaved look using flocking for the doll. I ended up trying with yarn, but the couple of attempts that I made at the sort of pixie that I have just didn't translate well onto doll scale. Might be just a little too short to even be considered a pixie, maybe. But that's what I have protected under the layer. And now, just until the end of the face up, I work on darkening things and adding more color, just making sure that everything is crisp and just the way that I'm looking to have it. This green liner is life, though. Love it so much. Here I'm adding in some more hairs to the brows just to give it an actual brow look and not a screened on print. And then unfortunately I did end up working on a day that was humid, and so my MSC didn't quite cure properly for one of these layers, so I wasn't getting any payoff really with the pencils. Luckily I'd pretty much done everything on the face that I wanted to do. I just had the eyelashes left. I'm not very confident with my eyelashes, but even less so with acrylic paint, which is what I ended up having to use. I watered it down as much as I possibly could, and then went in with the literal smallest nail art brush I have been able to find. And let me tell you, it is not easy. It's all of that footage that makes it look easy is so not easy. But I do feel a little bit more confident after that, so I guess practice makes perfect kind of a thing, but not really practice makes perfect, just practice helps you get better. And now that I'm happy with the face, I'll go ahead and seal it with Mr. Super Clear, probably 2 times. Just to really seal it in. And now my favorite part, we get to peel off the liquid latex. It's a little hard to get started, but once you do, it's so satisfying. Just look at that peel. Gorgeous. Now I can finally show you the clothes. I used these fabrics to make the clothing items and used an iron-on printable to make the pride flag skirt portion. So here I have a slouchy black shirt that was actually made with some of the material that I cut off a t-shirt dress to make my favorite black shirt. The pair of pants is made out of pant pockets, and I added an iron-on detail with a rainbow witch design. I found a sheer iridescent top in my stash of clothes, which meant that I didn't have to make my own. And of course, the shorts and partial skirt that I'll actually add some chain details here with you really quick. The plan is to use a little bit of ribbon to make loops to attach rings to that I can attach the chain to. And as you can see here, it's really small and fiddly, so I'm going to do that off camera and be right back. Now that the loops are attached, I can add some chains. I already cut down the length in general that I'm thinking I want, but I'll adjust it on the doll after completion to make sure that they look the way I want them to. In the front, I link on the chain with a jump ring, and then in the back, I actually use a lobster clasp jewelry piece, so that if it's too tight on the doll, I can undress and redress without having to scratch the paint job, of course. That, and I really don't want to play with these pliers, like, it's already difficult. This is sped up 3 times. I hate little things. Now, off camera, I went and painted their nails, as well as my teeny tiny little Assassin's Creed finger tattoo. And of course, watching the footage back, I now know that I missed the anchor tattoo you can see in practically every clip. So I'll add that before the final pictures. Just to recap, we've got a shirt and a pair of pants as a casual everyday outfit. I pulled out these Ainsley Slater shoes that are just the perfect punk addition to make the outfit a little bit more me and a little less normal everyday. Outfit number 2 is the Pride outfit, which of course I have the iridescent top and the Pride skirt shorts combo. And I found these rainbow sandals in my stash, which honestly are just perfect for Pride. As a final detail, I also made a keffiyeh off camera in support of Palestine. Off camera, I added eyelashes, glossed the eyes and lips, and added my piercings, both on the ears and in my septum. So now I can remove the hair cover and we can finally get into the final pictures. I'm so excited. I had so much fun taking pictures with my mini-me and some friends that they found at Pride. My collection, really. I look forward to sharing more content with you in the future, so please consider subscribing and hitting the bell notification so that you know when the next video comes out. Leave a like and comment your plans for Pride. Drop your pronouns as well, mine are they, them. And leave any ideas you think would be fun to see made into a doll. Enjoy the last little bit of photos, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!
Taking shots at the enemy, I'm gonna make it to the top, leave a legacy. If I got something to say, you better let me speak. Turn it up a new degree, bitch, you ain't seen anything. I pop off with the new rock, electronic, blow the sonic roof up. I'm too honest when I take a few shots.